Have you been following the Black Swan trial? Well, that's what we are going to be talking about today. And if you haven't heard of it, let's just say that this is one of those cases that really makes you wonder. But before we go any further, I'd like to welcome you to Crime Rush. I'm Inga, and thank you so much for tuning in. Please go on ahead and click that like button to help me out, and also consider subscribing if you enjoy this type of content. Please note that I get all my information from public sources and I just report it back to you. Also, if you find content like this upsetting, please turn away right now because we will be discussing some upsetting things. You have been warned. So today's case took place in Florida. Yes, another Florida crime. And we are going to be talking about this beautiful lady who is a former ballerina, and her name is Ashley Benefield. And if you haven't guessed it yet, they are calling this the Black Swan trial because they are connecting Ashley being a former ballerina to the movie Black Swan starring Natalie Portman. So Ashley Benefield is gorgeous. I mean, look at her. She is a beautiful woman, and she was married to this man, 54-year-old Doug Benefield. But on the 27th of September 2021, a distraught Ashley ran over to her neighbor's house and begged him to let her in. She told her neighbor that she had just shot her husband because he attacked her. And then the neighbor phoned 911.
Manatee County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hi, my address is 11327 White Rock Terrace.
Okay, can you repeat that for me to make sure I have it correctly?
The house next door, honey, what's your address? Okay, it's right next door to me. She just came over. Her strange husband attacked her, and she says she shot him. Now, we've not gone over there yet.
Okay, what's his name?
Who?
What is his name?
His name is Doug Benefield.
Okay.
I have not gone over there. I'm not go back.
I don't want you to go over there.
Okay.
Stay on the line just one moment. I'm going to connect you over to the sheriff's dispatch, okay?
Okay. She's with me now, quite upset. The weapon is here.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go over and look at anything, or just wait for the...
No, I want you to just wait for the police, okay?
All right, if you could just get them here quick. She came in, she was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door. Said that he attacked her, and she shot him.
Okay. I'm just getting that all on the screen, okay?
Okay. I know, honey. Come on. I know. Go ahead, ma'am.
Where is the gun? Is it with her, or is it just...
I have it right here, ma'am. It's sitting on the floor inside the door. My door's locked, so in case he isn't, he can't get up. I'm also armed if he does come over and try to harm her, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
No, I'm right here with him. I'm just with her. I'm trying to comfort her. Where in the house is he? Oh, the police are going to want to know, probably. I know, baby. You got to sit down. Come on. There's no... Well, honey, they want you to stay here. If he isn't, we can't take a chance. That's why I want them to hurry up before we get back from the park.
Deputies are moving as fast as their hand. They're coming priority. They're coming lights and sirens. They just want to get and make sure that everything's okay. I want to... So where in the house is he?
Where in the house is he? Her bedroom. No, I don't know where that is. So it's one of the bedrooms.
Now you can hear Ashley in the background in this 911 call. She sounds extremely upset and shaken up by what she had just done. And that neighbor, he just sounds like such a sweetheart. He sounds like he's just trying to do what he believes is the right thing at the time. And that is to help and protect Ashley, because he doesn't know if Doug is alive, if he's dead, if he's still coming after Ashley. And at one point you can hear him ask the operator to send the deputies out as soon as possible because Ashley's mom and her baby daughter would be returning home anytime, and they didn't want them to return to the home where the incident took place and, find Doug that way. So what happened here? Let's go back a bit and talk about Doug. Doug was a Navy veteran and a business owner and worked in the tech industry. Now, I think it's important to note that before Ashley came into his life, he lived in South Carolina and was married to his second wife, Renee. Reportedly, Doug and Renee's marriage was fantastic, and eventually they had a daughter together and they named her Eva. And Eva would also later talk about how her mom and dad had this wonderful and healthy marriage. But sadly, in December of 2015, Renee would suddenly pass away from a heart condition that she didn't even know that she had. And what's even worse is that Eva, her daughter, who was only 14 at the time, discovered her lifeless body in their home that day when she returned from school. Now, you can just imagine, they are devastated. This is such a shock. Nobody could see something like this coming. She was a wonderful wife, an awesome mother, and they were just absolutely distraught when this happened. And this is just the type of incident that will really make you realize how short life really is, and that you need to be ready at all times, because you never know when it will be your last day on this earth. So Eva and Doug are trying to heal. But just 9 months later, in 2016, Doug went to the type of political event, and there he met a beautiful 24-year-old Ashley Byers. She was working on Donald Trump's election campaign at the time, and the two of them immediately hit it off when they realized they had similar views and interests. So as you probably noticed, there is a massive age gap, a 30-year age gap. And just 9 months prior to this, Doug had lost his wife Renee, and he was still, healing from that. But when he met Ashley, there was an instant connection, and they fell head over heels in love with each other. And get this, only 13 days after meeting each other, the two of them get married. 13 days, okay? How is that for a whirlwind romance? Now, you must be wondering about Doug's daughter. What did Eva think about all of this? Well, let's just say Eva wasn't exactly happy about all of this. You can imagine 9 months before this, she found her mom's lifeless body in their home. Now, all of a sudden, her dad just got married. And the way he told her, he wasn't exactly forthcoming and truthful about it all. And I want you to hear from Eva how she found out about all of this.
When did you first find out about someone named Ashley Benefield?
It was August of 2016, about 9 months after my mom passed.
Okay. And how did you find out about her?
My dad was on the phone when he picked me up from school, and he had his phone on speaker, and they mentioned him having a girlfriend, and if he was going to bring his girlfriend to a conference that they had that weekend.
And was that the first time you had any information that there might have been a girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay. How old were you at the time?
I was 15.
At the time, were you upset with him about that?
No. I just told him that I trusted him, and if that's what made him happy, that I would be happy for him.
And about how long after that did you find out they were married?
It was 2 days after.
And how did you find out that they were married?
My dad came up into my room, and he said, "Eva, we need to have a chat downstairs with Ashley." She was at the house at the time, and I said, I don't think we need to. I understand that you're dating her and you're happy, but please just, give me my space a little bit. I don't want to have a conversation." And he said, "No, I think it's really important we do." And I said, "The only time that I would want to have a conversation with y'all is if you told me that you were going to propose." And when those words came out of my mouth, he told me that they were married.
Okay. So that's how you found out they were married?
Yes.
Come on. You have to try and put yourself in this teen's shoes for just a moment. 9 months ago, she finds her mom's body in their home. Okay, so traumatic. 9 months later, her dad meets someone who's old enough to be her big sister, marries them only 2 weeks after meeting them. I mean, this poor girl, I don't even know how she could have felt in that moment, but it could not have been great. Now, obviously, Ashley had to move into the home with Doug and Eva. And at first, everything was fine because Doug and Ashley were absolutely smitten with each other. Even Eva said in the beginning, they were crazy about each other. They did everything together and they were like attached at the hip, just as a newlywed should be, you know? And reportedly, Eva and Ashley got along in the beginning just fine. But that didn't last long. According to Eva, things started falling apart when Ashley tried to step into a more motherly role and she started to discipline her. And listen, this is a tough situation from both sides, and it's important to take both sides into account when we look at this case. On the one hand, you have Eva, who has experienced so much trauma. She now has to deal with this young, new stepmom. And listen, we all know that kids don't really take kindly to being disciplined by people who are not their biological parents. Okay, this is not a weird thing. This is quite common. And it is also quite common for kids to dislike their parents' new girlfriends or boyfriends or wives. Okay, so this is not strange at all. But on the other hand, you have Ashley. Okay, and Ashley is young. She's in her 20s. She's a new wife. And now she's moving into this home where this family unit of Doug and Eva already existed before she came along. She needs to step into the role of a stepmom. She has no experience of being a mother. And she has to sort of fit into this dynamic. It's tough from both sides. I can definitely see that. And it does sound like Eva was rebelling a bit against Ashley, and I don't hold it against her at all. I've been there, believe me. But then Ashley would run to Doug, and according to Eva, she would just go on and on and on about Eva to Doug, and Doug would just sit back and listen to her complain. But Eva said she never heard them fighting. They never did that in front of her.
And how about interactions with your dad? Did you ever hear her argue with your father?
I heard her strongly voice her opinions over and over and over again.
Okay. Now, you said over and over and over again. Is that something that you heard on a regular basis or something you only heard once?
It was on a regular basis.
Okay. And when she was voicing her opinions to your father, was he ever reacting to that?
No, he would just sit quietly and listen.
Did you ever see them fight?
No,
Verbally fight?
no,
Okay. Did you ever see them physically fight?
no.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I believe that, and I'm not calling Eva a liar, but we know for a fact that Doug and Ashley were having some serious fights. It could very well be that they didn't do that in front of her. Maybe they waited for her to go to school, or they were just very good at hiding it. But it seems unlikely when you take into account how serious these fights were. Reportedly, it got so bad between Doug and Ashley at one point that Doug actually fired his gun into the ceiling. And this next part, I'm sorry, but Doug got so angry at Ashley that he punched their dog until the dog was unconscious. Okay, and I've seen a lot of people tell this story and they just sort of brush over that, but not me, okay, because he punched a dog. How disgusting is that? And let me just say one thing. If you hurt an animal, any animal, that tells me all I need to know about you. And if you think this might not be true, there is in fact evidence showing that Doug did in fact do this.
Doug admitted to shooting a gun in the home, writing, "I shot the gun. How many times did I tell you I was having a nervous breakdown?" And punching their dog after an argument about his daughter. "I punched the dog because you got me so mad, like you wouldn't stop about Eva. Always Eva."
But Ashley and Doug make up after all of this, and they actually go on to open a ballet school together, and they call it the American National Ballet Company. And they went all out with this business. This was Ashley's dream, okay? And they invested so much into it. They were recruiting ballet dancers from all across the globe, and they were promising them really great salaries with amazing benefits and all of these different perks and even visas and all of the stuff. Doug was being extremely supportive here, and he wanted to do this for Ashley. He wanted to make this dream come true for her. Doug just wanted to do everything in his power to make this marriage work. And he even went as far as to reverse his vasectomy because he knew that Ashley wanted to start a family of her own. And now he did all of that. Everything was set. The ballet dancers were about to come over from all over and start training. But then Ashley found out that she was pregnant. And once she found out she was pregnant, she wanted to remove herself from the business, okay? And this is her first child. I get it, okay? When you are pregnant, moms, you know what it's like. All you can do is obsess over your baby. But on the other hand, okay, you have Doug here who has invested so much money and time into her dream. And now she's just bailing right before all the dancers are supposed to come over. And I don't know, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't sound fair. And reportedly, she did have a hard time with her pregnancy. And that I can understand because through my pregnancy, I was sick from the start to the end of my pregnancy, okay? It was not a fun time for me. But you know what? I had to work, and I'm really glad I did because I did that for my family. But now Doug, he had to run this whole company by himself. And keep in mind, Doug was no ballet dancer, okay? He had no experience in this, of course. That was Ashley's thing. He did this for her. But he tried to step up and do this for her. He wanted to try and help her and to keep control over this company and really make a success of it for Ashley. And then you have Eva, and she finds out about the pregnancy. And as you can imagine, she was very surprised because her dad never ever told her that he had his vasectomy reversed. And I just feel so sorry for this girl. I mean, it's just one blow after the next, after the next. I can't even imagine how she was feeling. But sadly, at this point, Doug and Ashley's relationship got worse. Their fights increased and the fights got worse and worse and worse. And at this point, Ashley just grew distant and she started doing some strange things. She started throwing around some strange accusations, okay? At one point, she was accusing Doug of being responsible for ending the life of his late wife, Renee. And this has been proven to be untrue. Renee really did pass away from a heart condition. So as you can see, these fights are getting extremely bad, okay? And the one day, Doug gets home from work and he sees that Ashley wrote him a letter. And this is what the letter said. Doug, I can honestly tell you that I am completely heartbroken. Please do not be rash. Hear me out and read all the way to the end of this letter. Over the past year, we have had good times, yes, but you have also displayed scary and irrational behavior with sudden bursts of rage and fits of anger. Extreme and uncontrollable anger. This has left me constantly stressed to the point of nausea and scared for my safety. I never know what will set you off, and so I always walk on eggshells to try and keep the peace. It is like you are two very different people, and I'm never sure when you will lash out and be overtaken with rage. You yell, scream, and cuss at me, even telling me we should get a divorce, that you don't want to see me or touch me again, and that you don't love me. You have put my life in danger multiple times when you have a sudden fit of anger when driving with me in the car. You have driven erratically, way too fast, broken traffic laws, crossed in front of oncoming traffic, driven up over a curb, through grass, almost hit several trees, and acted like you were going to crash the car. Sometimes you break things, smash drinking glasses on the counter, in the sink, or even in your hands because you were so full of uncontrollable anger. All these things and more I have overlooked and lived with for now a year, because I love you. But even since finding out I was pregnant, you have continued to display psychotic, irrational, and unsafe behavior that has left me fearful for my life and safety as well as that of my unborn child. I have come to get only what belongs to me. Do not harass or try to follow me. or I will call the police and have a restraining order against you. I will talk with you only via text starting Tuesday, September 19th. Do not call me or my mom. We will not pick up. Thank you for understanding. Ashley. Okay, so it's clear in this letter that Doug has a horrible temper. But what is also clear from what we know so far is that Ashley is no angel either. So both are really wrong in my opinion. But now you can imagine Doug gets home from work, he finds this letter, his wife is gone and she's pregnant. I mean, he feels blindsided by all of this. And Ashley has now moved very far away. She has moved to Florida, to where her mom lives. She moved in with her mom, and she plans to have the baby over there. But Doug and Ashley just take all the arguments and they are doing it long distance. And they are doing it over the phone, over text, over phone calls. This is just a full-blown toxic relationship. And Doug had additional pressure on his side. Remember, he's still running that ballet company, and Ashley's not doing anything to help him with it. And things were starting to fall apart, as you can imagine. And a lot of the dancers who came from all over, they had to leave because things weren't working out. And it is said that Doug actually had to go ahead and fire some of them. And this is when the media got involved, and they actually reached out to Ashley. And Ashley gave a statement. They have destroyed everything we worked to build, and I no longer want anything to do with the company. It makes me sick. My heart goes out to all these dancers. When I read that, I was like, wow. She's not taking any responsibility. She's just blaming it all on him. It's all his fault. He's a horrible person. He's a monster. Blame him. And this obviously makes the fighting between Ashley and Doug even worse. And at one point, Ashley goes and she reports Doug to CPS. She claimed that he was an unfit father to Eva, who was 16 at the time. He said he was leaving her alone at home, which to me is a bit crazy because she's 16, she can be alone at home. But nevertheless, CPS investigated and they could find nothing wrong with the situation. Ashley then went to the police and claimed that Doug was poisoning her. And after taking hair samples and a bunch of things, they couldn't find any proof of this. But then Ashley goes the next mile and she goes to the hospital and she claims that Doug was poisoning her with heavy metals or something. And due to her saying this, they felt that she was at risk, and they scheduled her C-section for 3 weeks earlier than she was supposed to have it. Now keep in mind, Doug has no idea about any of this. He doesn't know that Ashley has given birth. He doesn't know his baby girl has been born. So obviously his name is not on the birth certificate. And honestly, to me, it just sounds like she's really trying to cut him out. It's like she just wants to be a single mom. She doesn't want him to be part of the baby's life. She wants to do it on her own. And it actually sounds like she's leaving like a paper trail, to cover herself, because she's claiming that he poisoned her. She wrote that letter when she left him. Now it's the restraining order, the heavy metals he poisoned her with. I mean, it's just all of the stuff that she's piling up against him. But Doug wasn't going to sit back and take any of this. He was going to fight for rights for his daughter, and he succeeded. And the judge allowed him to meet and spend time with his baby girl. He actually got to spend a lot of time from then on with Ashley and their new baby. And at this point, it even started looking like they were trying to patch things up and try and make things work. Doug even went on to get an apartment in Florida so that when he traveled there, he could stay there and spend more time with Ashley and their baby. And to me, it seems like Doug really loved her and he was really determined to do everything to make this marriage work. And things were going pretty great for about a year. But then Ashley started acting distant again. And the one day she showed up with a massive engagement ring. And when Doug questioned her about it, she didn't give the best answers. So he decided he was going to hire a private investigator. And lo and behold, the private investigator came back and told Doug that yes, Ashley was seeing someone else. And you have to remember, Doug and Ashley are still married at this point. This is still his wife, but now she's engaged to someone else. She's in a relationship with another man. And at this point, Doug realizes, okay, this is the end of this relationship. And he actually goes and files for a divorce. And you would think after everything that Ashley did and said and accused him of, she would be happy. But no, what does she do? She actually goes and accuses Doug of being inappropriate with their little girl. Okay, and I'm assuming you mean what I mean by inappropriate. I can't say it because I'll get flagged. And listen, I wasn't there. I don't know these people, but what I can tell you is that I'm finding it extremely difficult to believe any of Ashley's accusations here. Now, all of a sudden, since Doug filed for this divorce, now he's the sick, disgusting pervert monster who's doing inappropriate things with their daughter. Come on. I don't believe that. And listen, to falsely accuse someone of something like this, that's sick. You should never do that. That is disgusting, because this is the type of thing that follows someone around forever. But there was an investigation done and they could find no truth to these accusations, and Doug's name was cleared. And these two were going back and forth, and they were in and out of family court. But then at one point, it seems like they came together and they decided that they would try and make it work, and they would both move to Maryland. They would live separately, but it sounds like they wanted to try and work it out somehow. But on the 27th of September 2021, Doug and Ashley were at her mom's house in Florida packing up. Doug was helping Ashley load some heavy things into a U-Haul. And this is when, according to Ashley, a massive argument broke out between her and Doug. Right before that, Ashley's mom actually took their daughter for a stroll, and that is when they started this massive argument, and Ashley said it escalated extremely quickly. And she said she was trying to leave, she tried to get away, but Doug wouldn't allow it, and he got extremely aggressive with her and actually struck her. She said he then lunged at her, and fearing for her life, she got her gun and she shot him multiple times. One of the bullets actually went through his chest, and this was the bullet that ended his life. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, Ashley ran to the neighbor. She asked him to call 911. He did so. When the police came over to the scene, she immediately told them that her and Doug were having issues, that he got violent with her, that she feared for her life, and she did all of this in self-defense. So they didn't arrest her there. Now, only the next day, Doug's daughter, Eva, found out that her dad had died and that Ashley had shot him. And as you can imagine, I mean, this poor girl, really, I don't even know what to say. She's gone through so much, and she's still so young at this stage. I mean, she lost her mom. Now her dad dies in this way. It's extremely traumatic, and I can't even imagine. My heart really goes out to Eva. Now, obviously, police had a look at the crime scene, and they could not find any sign of a fight or struggle that you would typically see in a situation like this. Also, Doug was not armed. Doug's body went in for autopsy, and police were waiting on those results. And 5 weeks later, the medical examiner ruled Doug's manner of death as a homicide. Investigators only arrested Ashley in November of 2022, and they charged her with second-degree murder. But Ashley was sticking to her story. She kept saying that she did this in self-defense. She pleaded not guilty, and she now had to wait for her trial. And while she was waiting for her trial, she decided to do an interview with 2020's Deborah Roberts.
And it's sad to me that people who don't even know me have this idea of a monster when they think of me.
How are you doing?
It depends on the moment. Yeah, there's good days and rough days, good moments and rough moments.
You haven't spoken out before. Why did you decide to talk now?
I'm really doing it for other people. Because I know I'm not alone in this. There are women all over the country, all over the world, who have gone through or are going through hard situations behind closed doors until you have been there, or it's someone that you know and care about. It's not something that you think about.
Now, I followed this whole trial, and I found it so interesting. Eva testified, and she looks like a lovely young lady, and my heart just goes out to her. I feel so sorry for her. But it's really difficult to decide who to believe, because Ashley also testified.
He came over to help load some of the larger items that my mom and I had kind of pre-staged in the garage into the U-Haul truck.
And were there any discussions between the two of you about the order that these things should be placed in the back of the truck?
Yes, we had discussed that my things would be going in last, right at the front, so they would be easy to get out first. At one point, he had me help him load one of the larger pieces into the back of the U-Haul truck. And when I was up in the truck with him, I realized that everything had been all like mixed together and it was no longer separated. And I pointed that out to him, and he got really offended and upset. He said, "It shouldn't be your stuff, your house, my house."
And how was Doug reacting to your efforts to do that?
He was getting more upset and aggressive and threatening.
Ashley, would you tell us if there came a time shortly thereafter where there was physical contact between the two of you?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
We were in the living room, and as he came up to me, instead of walking past me, he walked like right into me, like a body check. He like bumped me.
His shoulder to your shoulder?
Yes. He was clearly hostile. He was mumbling under his breath and was glaring at me.
What was your concern?
I could see that it was escalating, and I didn't want him to blow up at me.
Is it an accurate picture of what your face looked like on that night?
Yes, sir.
What did you do?
I ran
Where?
to my room
Why?
because I was scared.
Ashley, did you have anything in your room that could protect you?
I had my gun.
As you're grabbing the gun, what, if anything, did you hear?
I heard the door hitting the doorstop.
As if it is flung open?
Yes.
And what do you see, Ashley, when you look up?
Doug was standing in the doorway. His face was red. Like the veins were bulging in his neck. The way he was looking at me, it didn't even look like Doug. His eyes were black. He said, "You're done."
What does he do at that point?
I held the gun like in front of me, and I said, "Stop." And he like turned and he got into this like a fighting stance. I got low, and he started like moving his arms and his hands around. And he was making these like jerking motions.
What were you expecting when you were holding the gun out in front of you and you told him to stop?
I thought when he saw it, he would leave.
Did he?
No.
At that point, Ashley, what are you thinking?
I thought he was gonna kill me.
Tell us what happens next.
He started coming towards me, and then he lunged at me, and I started pulling the trigger. And he just kept coming, and I remember trying to move to get away from him, but he kept coming at me.
You can just cut the tension with a knife in that courtroom. I mean, you can see Ashley's family sitting over there listening to all of this. It must be extremely tough. But this is what Ashley said happened. According to the defense, Doug faced Ashley when she shot him, but the prosecutors claim otherwise. They say the evidence show that Doug actually had his back turned to Ashley when she shot him. So one side is saying one thing, the other is saying another. And there were other people who testified for Ashley and against her, but eventually the jury had to take it all into consideration and make a decision. After over 5 hours of deliberation, the jury actually came back and informed the judge that they were deadlocked. But interestingly, instead of declaring it a mistrial, the judge actually asked the jury to go back in and to discuss this further and to come to a decision. And only a half an hour later, the jury came back and announced that they now had a verdict. Ashley was found guilty of manslaughter and then was taken into custody immediately. Her sentencing is set for the 22nd of October 2024, and she could face up to 30 years in prison. Okay, so now I'm going to give you my unprofessional opinion, and I don't think it's going to be a popular one. I don't know what happened here. I'm not swinging anyway. I'm thinking I really don't know. Both of them had some pretty concerning behavior in this relationship. Ashley had some wild accusations, and I do doubt her story just because of how she accused him of different things once she decided to leave him. It's almost as if she was leaving a paper trail to sort of build up to this. But then I think back to Doug's temper, and I think, sure, perhaps Ashley has some issues, but is it possible that Doug lost his temper? There was some evidence of her having a black eye. Was it possible that he had just had enough of her nonsense and freaked out that day and really wanted to hurt her? I think it's possible. So that's why I'm saying I really, really don't know. I don't know what happened here. I think both sides are possible. Do I agree with the well, she hasn't been sentenced. Do I agree with her being found guilty of manslaughter? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think that the prosecutors proved beyond a reasonable doubt that this was not self-defense. So I guess I don't agree with it. But let me know what you think. I could be wrong. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to opinions. So please leave them down below. I'll always read them. I'll always reply. And I love talking to you guys. But that's about it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. I really appreciate your support. Please go on ahead and like this video and make sure to stay safe. And I will see you in the next one.